Welcome to the Enchantment Review Series. This series is where I will be looking at enchantments in Minecraft dungeons. I will be covering what the enchantment does, its usability, and go over some builds and other enchantments that pair well with it. Stay till the end to see what rating it gets. Today's enchantment I'll be covering is Frenzied. Frenzied is a regular armor enchantment that increases your melee and ranged attack speed while you are below 50% health, with a max attack speed of plus 30% at level 3. Now on paper this sounds really good, inversely increasing attack speed as your health gets low, or in other words, once you drop to or below 50% health, you gain an increase to attack speed. The reason this does sound really good is because if I'm running something like Radiance or have a Lifesteal aura active, then I should start proccing Radiance more frequently or getting more Lifesteal within a given period. However, after testing it, it simply isn't enough to keep you sustained. The background gameplay is being played on Apocalypse at normal difficulty where I don't use any potions, specifically to test the Frenzied Radiance combo with Thief Armor, which gives 25% melee attack speed, and I was barely able to complete this mission. The reason I was specifically not using health potions was to force myself to be under the Frenzied buff as much as possible to see if I could really feel the effect of it. The result was a resounding no. There isn't any sort of audio cue or super obvious visual effect that Frenzied is active, so you don't really know if it's being procced while in an intense battle, which is not good. I'm not saying that it isn't working, I'm just saying it isn't apparent that it's working, as the attack speed is only a 30% buff, which is almost the same effect as Echo, which again isn't super obvious when it's procs in a large group of mobs. It's hard to give a good combination of enchantments with Frenzied, when it's simply too much risk for not enough reward. That is, you have to be at half your health to even be affected by this enchant, and then the buff is only 30% and that's it. So I would rather talk about how Frenzy could be better, and I've come up with 3 good ways to rework this enchantment. One, buff the attack speed and let it scale inversely with how much percent health you have. So instead of simply having a threshold you would constantly be gaining something from this enchantment. For example, if you have 100 health and lose 20% of your health, you would gain a 20% attack speed increase, or if you have 50% health, then you would gain a 50% attack speed buff. Each level would increase the cap of the attack speed buff. 2. Keep the buff the same, but also give lifesteal for some time after reaching 50% health without a cooldown. So in this case, the 30% attack speed buff isn't all Frenzy does, but now when you gain the attack speed, you are also lifestealing from damage dealt. Each level would either increase the duration of the strength of the lifesteal along with the attack speed buff. 3. Instead of only doing something for when you're 50% health or lower, there should be given a different buff while above 50% health, such as a move speed buff. This would make it so while above 50% health, you are moving faster and getting into combat faster, and when you drop below 50% health, you gain the attack speed buff. Each level would give an increasing buff. Now it's time for my final score. As is, Frenzy does not feel as strong as some other enchantments. Having to live around 50% health is not worth a slight bump to attack speed, and the fact that healing is now actively removing an enchantment from your armor doesn't feel good. This isn't enough to keep your health up for melee focused builds, and to use it for ranged builds you're most likely not going to be near enemies as you kill them. So to get down to 50% health is something you have to go out of your way to do, putting yourself in very dangerous situations. Now I do feel I have to mention, if you're wanting Frenzied for a boss melting build, then it's decent at that. However, for most of the game, you aren't fighting bosses. 0 out of 5, don't use for melee and ranged builds. Thanks for watching the video. If you liked it, please hit the like button. If you would like to see more content like this, then hit the subscribe button with the notification bell turned on.
So the rumors were true.